Right off the bat, the invaders wiped out humanity's forces without mercy, bringing about the end of the world. In the midst of the destruction, our hero and his companion watch the chaos, taking a deep breath. Outraged by the situation, the blonde knight asks if they're the only two left alive. Without beating around the bush, the purple-haired mage says that unfortunately, all their other comrades have already kicked the bucket. Not even the strongest warriors stood a chance against this insane threat. The warrior then asks the girl to give him her full support, leaving her confused about his plan. But without backing down, the blonde knight adjusts his shield and says his intention is more than obvious. Facing the giant monster in red armor, our boy announces he's going to land a decisive blow on the beast. Desperate, the mage reminds him that not even everyone together could scratch the creature, but the boy insists he's not running away now. Unleashing a sinister golden aura, the knight prepares a divine light technique in his sword. With all his life force, he activates the 10th form of his combat style, shining like a beacon. Faced with such power, the purple-haired girl realizes her partner really hasn't thrown in the towel. Flying towards the red giant, our hero goes on the attack with everything he's got. The colossal enemy quickly raises its hand, channeling destructive magic to crush its opponent. With fire in his eyes, the blonde knight charges toward the danger without a shred of fear. In the direct collision, the golden sword clashes against the red fist, generating a massive explosion. From the impact, you can tell the power struggle is tearing the entire landscape apart. In the middle of the brawl, the knight shouts his companion's name, asking for cover, promptly summons a green magic circle, and takes on the support role. Without holding back, she fires emerald energy blasts at the giant's back while the MC holds the front line. But the massive monster shows no mercy and unleashes a colossal crimson beam, swallowing their attacks. Thrown far by the impact, our boy slides across the destroyed ground. Refusing defeat is the only option, and he charges forward again, his weapon glowing even brighter. In a supreme golden strike, he tries to tear through the creature's armor once and for all. Shocked by the scene, the girl praises the incredible power of his secret technique. But to everyone's despair, the Dark Knight defends against the ultimate attack as if it were nothing. Pushing himself to the limit, our boy declares the fight isn't over in GT. And GT, blood spurts from his mouth, showing that his body is already on the verge of total collapse. In a panic, the mage warns that the blonde knight's body won't hold out much longer. Even while trembling and nearly falling, the hero refuses to give up the battle. At that moment, the purple-haired girl makes a drastic decision as she sees the situation worsening. From her clothes, she pulls out a mysterious item, preparing her final trick. Activating a prison of green light, she immobilizes her own partner, who is left completely clueless. Very seriously, says she won't let him perish there as he is the world's last hope. Furious, the blonde knight yells that if they don't take down that monster, everyone's a goner anyway. Unfazed, his partner explains that's exactly why she's passing the torch to him to change this reality. She then reveals a pocket watch, showing it to be a magical artifact passed down through her family for generations. The girl says there's no time to explain the details. In a desperate plea, she begs our hero not to let these fiends win next time. Suddenly, the image of a giant clock appears in the air, causing the knight to panic and ask what the heck she's doing. Ignoring the boys' pleas to let him fight, she places their fate in his hands as her final gambit. A gigantic scarlet summoning circle then completely swallows the mage. With a sad smile, she gives her battle partner one last goodbye. Immediately, a pillar of blue light tears through the skies, signaling that the forbidden spell has been activated. In the end, a brutal explosion consumes everything around, ending the brawl just like that. Left behind on the ground, the magical pocket watch is the only thing that remains of the girl. Cracks begin to spread across the destroyed soil around the item. On the scorched earth, coughing up blood, someone tries to survive the apocalypse. Completely spent, the purple-haired mage murmurs in relief that her crazy plan worked. Now, the true face of the mystical artifact of the gods reveals the broken power of reincarnation. Our hero's soul is sent back through space to the past to live a completely different life. Filled with rage, the red monster is left behind as temporal magic distorts reality. Powerless, the partner collapses to the ground praying that the knight can change there before being vaporized by the villain's final blow. The girl's last thought is the hope of winning the blonde knight's heart in the next life. Leaping out of bed, our hero wakes up shouting his friend's name and finds himself in a luxurious mansion. With a splitting headache, the boy now has black hair and is sitting in a lavish room. Utterly confused, He deduces that he's in a noble's house and that this is the result of the magic. Under the covers, the young man tries to understand the craziness that just happened to him. A cute maid quietly opens the door, asking if everything is all right. Like a madman, the boy orders the servant to prepare a weapon to fight the invaders, leaving her to think it was just a nightmare. He finds it strange to be called No and questions the identity of the girl who introduces herself as Lydia, his personal maid. Looking at his own hands, he notices that something is very wrong with his physique. It's obvious that this scrawny body is definitely not his original one. The question arises in his mind whether he possessed some random person or if the rabbit hole goes deeper. He grabs the maid by the shoulders, desperately demanding to know where he is and who he really is. Frightened by his outburst, the poor girl backs away, asking if her master is delirious with fever again. With patience for her story, the dark-haired boy yells at her to just answer the question. Scared to death, the girl explains that he is the fourth son of a noble Dasher family. He then asks for the current year and is shocked to discover they've returned to 850. With the math in his head, the hero understands that he has been reincarnated exactly 10 years before apocalyptic war begins. On his knees in despair, he weeps for being reborn into the world's most evil and wicked family of magic swordsmen. To break the tense atmosphere, someone knocks on the door and introduces herself as Selena. With a tray in her hands, another maid enters announcing she has brought the young master's medicine. The servant quickly adds that Master Scar prepared the potion personally out of pure concern for the boy's health. With a grim look, our new hero stares at the bowl suspecting that something is very fishy. With his eyes glowing a shade of purple, our MC is the suspicious liquid in the bowl. Without a second thought, he throws the container on the floor, startling the maids. At that moment, a group of goons enters the room as the dark-haired boy asks who the intruders are. With a cynical look, their leader replies that they came to check on a strange noise. But the hero's sharp gaze tells him he's not buying that excuse. Feigning indignation, the intruder complains about the waste of Master Scar's goodwill and says they'll bring another dose. Mocking them, the boy laughs and asks if they've completely lost their minds. He then challenges the goons to drink the so-called potion since it's actually pure poison. Thanks to his experience with holy energy, the young man explains that the liquid's color change gave away the trap instantly. Losing his patience, the leader's face darkens, and he warns that they'll force him to drink it. A smug smile appears on the MC's face as he sees their masks fall. All too calmly, he comments that he felt insulted they sent mere lapdogs to deal with him. Cracking his knuckles, the dark-haired boy decides to mess with the assassins a bit. Immediately, the gang leader orders his henchmen to restrain the young master. Ready for their cowardly act, the lackeys draw their swords and advance towards the bed. One of the goons quickly tries to grab the boy's arm by surprise, but the response comes in the form of a well-aimed kick that sends the enemy flying. The lackey takes a hard blow to the chin that makes his teeth chatter. Furious, another assassin tries a cross-punch, but whiffs miserably. Seizing the opening, our hero lands a brutal counterattack right in the guy's chest. Despite the blows, the dark-haired boy realizes he couldn't knock out his targets on the first try. It's clear that this new body is too weak, and the question of why he was being poisoned grows stronger. And GT. Ignoring the casualties, the leader orders them to finish the job, even if it means hurting the boy. Suddenly, a holographic window pops up out of nowhere in the MC's vision. It displays the enemy's stats as the young man advises the guys to give up. Reading the panels, he realizes he's gained a super rare appraisal skill. He instantly confirms that his opponents are just level 1 novice swordsmen. Annoyed by his audacity, one of the lackeys leaps forward, delivering a vertical slash with his sword. As agile as ever, the hero dodges the slashing attack by a hair's breadth. Right after, the punk receives a devastating knee to the stomach, knocking him out on the floor. Without missing a beat, the MC steals the sword from the fallen enemy. He then engages in a blade clash, sending sparks flying everywhere. With incredible precision, he blocks a cowardly attack coming from behind. In an instant, the room turns into an intense battlefield with the maids fleeing in desperation. Tripping over their dresses, the girls try to escape the danger zone. Clapping his hands, the leader praises the family's bloodline while the boy tells him to stop watching and get in on the action. At that exact moment, a bizarre sensation takes over the young man's body. A sinister purple aura explodes from his sword, revealing the use of a demonic core. This dark energy is the root of the exclusive power of the swordsmen of that noble house. Unlike his past life where he used holy light, now his power is purely from these two forces clash violently within a single host. Taking advantage of the boy's confusion, the enemy leader notes that the energy has finally gone out of control. Cynically, he reveals that the medicine was a trigger to make the demonic core explode. Now, the hero's body is being devoured by the uncontrolled aura due to the strain of combat. Aware that he'll turn to dust if he does nothing, the MC decides to bet everything on the physical endurance of this new body. In an unprecedented event, the two opposing energies begin to glow together in a crazy spiral. With a straight face, the dark-haired boy claims he will use his old holy core to suppress the dark. Finding all this a joke, the villain draws his sword and charges, calling the technique useless. Activating a special dark move, the enemy dissolves into a red cloud in midair. As if by magic, the assassin appears from behind, ready for the final strike. Turns out, our boy defends the cowardly attack with just one hand and without breaking a sweat. Completely shocked, the leader doesn't understand how the target reacted in time, and even used the mixed demonic power. Using his skill, the hero discovers the guy is level 3 and promptly tells the trash to know his place. Pushing the rival back with brute force, the MC creates some space. He immediately launches a crescent-shaped slash, just destroying the room's floor. The assassin barely manages to slink into the shadows to avoid being cut in half. Clash again, mixing golden and red sparks everywhere. In an insane sequence of blows, the fight speed increases dramatically. Even in his weak body, the MC's war experience allows him to crush his opponent with ease. Unable to keep up, the leader ends up with a deep gash on his leg. Standing his ground, the hero analyzes that the exchange of blows was enough to understand the limits of this trash. Mockingly, he asks where all the villain's bravado went now that he's panting like a tired dog. With a cold smile, he notes that the guy even lost his polite tone and is starting to panic. Taking the bait, the assassin calls the boy a brat and charges forward, blind with rage. Screaming like a madman, the enemy swears the target will never be able to read his escape technique. Once again, the coward dissolves into the blood-red mist, thinking he's invisible. Right in the center of the room, the MC closes his eyes and just feels the flow of energy around him. In the blink of an eye, the hero's insane perception locks onto the blind spot. With a perfect spin, he delivers a sword strike directly into the empty space, hitting the guy dead on. The impact of the blade splatters the villain's blood everywhere, breaking the illusion technique. On his knees, and all messed up, the leader mutters, not understanding how he was discovered. In a teaching moment, the young master explains that hiding the body is useless if the demonic presence keeps leaking out. Coughing up a lot of blood, the defeated man mutters, asking what kind of bizarre power that was. Resting the sword on his shoulder, the dark-haired boy shrugs, saying that even he can't quite explain it. In his mind, however, it's clear that the fusion of holy light and demonic aura has created something absurdly broken. Mixing his original holy core with this new body's demonic core results in a wicked combination. If he could master this bizarre force, our MC believes he could save the world once more. In a moment of nostalgia, he mentally thanks his former partner for this ray of hope. Just then, the maids rush into the room, desperately asking if the young master is hurt and wanting to call a doctor. To calm the girls down, the dark-haired boy says he's fine, but focuses on the main problem scattered across the floor. Suddenly, a strange flying creature delivers a sealed letter directly into his hand. The maid promptly informs him that it's a direct summons from the current patriarch, Lord Victor. Opening the envelope, the boy reads that his father wants to confirm his participation in the so-called War of Succession. Completely lost, our hero wonders to himself what crazy conflict this is that everyone in the family seems to know about. Curious, he questions the two maids about the details of this internal feud. Without hesitation, the young woman replies that anyone who serves the Dasker family is obligated to know about it. She then explains that this contest is a brutal combat created to forge the family into an absolute power through the hunting of demonic cores. Basically, the siblings fight among themselves, and the winner simply rips out the loser's power to become even more OP. Scratching his head, the MC remembers that there was almost no information about the Daskers in his past life. Worried, the maid swallows hard and asks if the boy really intends to enter this family bloodbath. With a mysterious smile, the young man just shall find out the answer very soon. In his mind, he recalls his old glorious family who were viewed by the public with pure reverence and envy. In stark contrast, the current Dasker lineage is a symbol of pure disgust and terror for using dark power. Even so, the current patriarch Victor Dasker is recognized worldwide as humanity's strongest swordsman. Standing in front of some giant doors, our hero decides to see for himself what this dark place is all about. Full of attitude, he enters the main hall ready to face his new reality head-on. Walking down the red carpet, the name Noah Dasker echoes through the heavy atmosphere. In the center of the room, he announces that he has come to answer the leader's call. Looking around, the boy notices the other imposing figures present. First, he lays eyes on the eldest son Damien, who sports heavy armor. He notices the presence of the eldest daughter Julia with her ice-cold posture. He sees the second son, Sees, with a look of someone who couldn't care less about anything. Further on is the second daughter Eve, looking quite bored with the meeting. But the MC's main focus straight to the third son, Scar, the scumbag who set up the fatal potion. Filled with internal rage, the dark-haired boy confirms that this well-dressed punk was the one behind the assassination attempt earlier. To break the tension, the eldest sister comments that the rumors about the youngest recovery were true after all. Straight to the point, the boy confirms it and says he has identified the cause of his illness, deciding to focus on sword training instead of resting. With a sharp gaze, Julia seems to analyze her younger brother's absurd audacity. Not missing the chance to humiliate him, Scar scoffs, saying a weakling like him shouldn't waste time training. In the same vein, our hero tells the coward to shut up since he didn't have the guts to try to kill him personally. Mad with rage, the redhead calls the boy an arrogant brat and nearly attacks him right there. Immediately, the eldest brother cuts off the argument, telling them both to be quiet because time is up. In perfect sync, the announcement of Lord Victor's arrival echoes throughout the hall. Heavy footsteps descend the stairs, making the air in the place freeze with tension. All the siblings quickly bow their heads in a sign of pure respect and deep fear. Even the arrogant Scar starts to break a cold sweat just from feeling the old man's presence. Struck by the monstrous aura, our MC feels an absurd weight crushing his shoulders. Mentally, the hero remembers that this swordsman is so incredible that in his past life, no one even dared to cross the guy's path. Sporting the title of 9-star demonic swordsman, the patriarch sits on the throne, exuding destructive power. Adjusting his posture, the supreme leader notices that all the heirs are finally gathered for the show. Without any delay, the gray-haired man declares that the Council of Summons is eye to eye. The leader asks Noah to confirm his intentions to participate in the bloody feud, and the boy accepts on the spot. In a terrifyingly curious way, the old man asks what the sick kid intends to achieve with that useless body. Always cool, the dark-haired boy gives a confident smile as if he already has the script for victory ready in his head. Loud and clear, our hero declares that he will emerge victorious and take the absolute top spot in the dasher. Hearing this audacity, the patriarch's eyes widen slightly, questioning if the youngest is ready for the slaughter. With a deep voice, the leader asks if that is a declaration of war against all the candidates present. Serious and direct, our MC denies the statement, surprising everyone in the room. He then corrects himself, saying it's actually a declaration of war against absolutely everyone standing in this room. Clearly, the boy states that his targets are not just his dear blood siblings. Looking deep into the old man's soul, he declares that the patriarch himself is also on the list to be taken down. With an expression of pure insanity, the hero shows he's not there to play happy family. In response to all this bravado, the leader unleashes an explosion of purple demonic energy that shakes the entire castle. The pressure in the air, it is so ridiculous that the glass windows start to shatter on their own. Almost crushed by the gravity of the power, our hero grits his teeth to keep from collapsing. At his body's limit, the young man understands that this is the true demonic core of the gray-haired monster in full action. Engulfed in an aura of pure destruction, the old man questions if the brat really thinks he can overcome this divine force. Despite the brutal pain, the MC lets out a firm yes without retreating a single millimeter in the face of danger. Intrigued by his resistance, the leader slightly lessens the aura and asks what the boy's real reason is for desiring so much power. With a dark look, our hero replies that he needs this strength to ensure no one ever steals anything from him again in the future. Excited by the ambition, a sadistic smile appears on the old demon's face. Leaning back on his throne, he admits he liked the attitude, confirming that this is the true violent nature a Dasker needs to have. Immediately, the leader declares that Noah is in the war of succession and challenges anyone who opposes it to step forward. Completely in shock, the siblings are paralyzed, lacking the courage to question the monster's final word. Focused on the youngest, the patriarch orders him to become a beast hungry for power from now on. After the tense atmosphere in the hall passes, the day dawns peacefully outside in the gardens of the luxurious mansion. In the training yard, the dark-haired boy is already decimating a wooden dummy with pure sword strikes. In a swift and violent move, he splits the target in half, demonstrating the result of his physical effort. Taking a deep breath, the hero analyzes that his body has improved a bit, but is still only at the minimum acceptable level for a real fight. Facing his own mixed aura, he identifies the worst problem. He can't perfectly use his old light techniques or the new lineage demonic strikes together. Testing this bizarre mixture, the young man wonders what the heck this power is and soon summons his status screen. Confirming his suspicion, he discovers that his new holy demonic core has bizarre, temporary usage limitations. Focused on hiding this secret of combined light and darkness, the MC is interrupted by a familiar female voice and notices that his sister Julia was watching everything. As blunt as ever, the girl throws in his face that until now, their father only ever doted on their older brother Damien. But now the youngest has become the new favorite. Full of attitude, the dark-haired boy asks if the tough girl came here just to chit-chat and throws a wooden sword on the ground. Smiling confidently, he kicks the weapon towards her, challenging the platinum-haired girl to a quick sparring match. Surprised by his boldness, the girl catches the sword in the air as the hero rushes towards her, shouting that the show is about to begin. Without wasting time, the sister easily defends against the MC's first strike, showing who's boss. Finding the situation amusing, the girl scoffs and asks if he thought she was just here for a stroll. Frustrated that he couldn't even make her take a step back, the boy clicks his tongue, understanding that the power gap is still massive. In the blink of an eye, the girl retaliates with a blow that sends the kid flying back, kicking up dust. Far from being shaken, the MC mentally celebrates because this fight is the perfect test to see just how much of a beating he can take. The exchange becoming insane, the two trade dozens of blows, creating a violent gust of wind across the yard. Without mercy, the woman advances, cutting through the air and forcing the boy to retreat. While she complains that his level is still pointing the wooden sword at her brother's face, she criticizes his lack of talent and shows her complete disappointment with his little act at the council. Checking the holographic panel, the hero confirms that his sister's stats are ridiculous, reaching the 7-star domain. Breaking a cold sweat, he praises her incredible strength but doesn't lose his smile for a second. Disheartened by her youngest brother's frankness, she goes all out, delivering a brutal oblique cut that cracks the wooden floor. Shocked by the speed, the dark-haired boy can barely follow the movement of the sword descending towards him. Out of pure reflex, he defends with his blade, which starts to crackle, letting out bizarre sparks. In a burst of power, the sheer force of the impact sends the poor guy flying, making him curse in pain. Realizing his mistake, he notes that he ended up activating the holy demonic core unintentionally out of survival instinct. He immediately goes for a counterattack, and the swords collide with such force that a shockwave sweeps through the scene. Suspicious of that purple and golden aura, the sister questions if this is the boy's famous problematic demonic core that everyone called a failure. With a judgmental look, she throws it in his face that she's known all along his power was bugged. Thinking quickly, MC realizes that no one in the family knows about his original holy magic. Laughing inwardly, he concludes that he can fight at full power without revealing the mixture if he pretends it's just a side effect of having a defective core. With his eyes glowing an intense purple, the boy provokes her, saying he'll prove just how much this failure can hurt. Riding the momentum, he spins his body and executes a flying charge covered in golden and dark lightning. Enjoying the challenge, the platinum-haired girl gives a sadistic smile and whispers his name, ready to return the favor twofold. In midair, the hero reminds the platinum-haired girl of the obvious rule of the War of Succession, where everyone wants to steal each other's demonic cores. She plants her wooden sword into the stone ground, cracking the base, and prepares for the final blow. With a terrifying blood-red aura emanating from her entire body, she macabrely asks if she can just rip out his core right there. Startled by the woman's sudden pressure, our hero's eyes widen as he senses the danger. In the blink of an eye, the maid Celine appears running desperately and throwing her master's real sword. Catching the blade in the air, the boy thanks the servant while his platinum-haired sister doesn't even flinch at the weapon swap. Without delay, the girl summons a typhoon of infernal flames around herself, turning into a true monster. Caught off guard by the insane heat, the dark-haired boy tries to create distance, but the woman is too fast. Sweating buckets, he tries to defend himself by holding the sword with both hands, but realizes the flames are burning everything around him. In a ridiculous display of power, she charges forward, destroying the courtyard stones just with the wind from her movement. Desperate, the MC crosses his sword over his chest, activating all the energy he can muster to withstand the blow. Smiling like a maniac, the woman praises the brat's resistance, confessing she's more impressed than usual. Pushing him back effortlessly, the platinum-haired girl screams, demanding to see all of the youngest's hidden power. Taunting the boy, she warns him that the next attack will be fatal if he doesn't give it his all to defend. Summoning her main technique, the dark flame sword dance, she focuses all the red energy into her blade, creating an insane heat wave. Realizing the overwhelming threat, the dark-haired boy concentrates every drop of energy from his mixed core into his blade, preparing his ultimate defense. In a brutal explosion, the sister fires a beam of pure crimson destruction, tearing through the air towards the kid. Without retreating a single millimeter, the MC meets the infernal blast head-on, causing the two energies to collide. The clash of power sweeps across the training ground, creating a storm of lightning and fire that forces even the maids to duck. Scoffing through the smoke, the woman asks if her dear brother planned to block that monstrous attack with just one hand. Mercilessly provoking him, she tells him to try and make her use both hands through sheer brute force. As if on cue, the platinum-haired girl vanishes and reappears behind the young man, ready to slice him up. By some ninja-like instinct, the boy spins around, managing to block the charge by crossing swords. But the pressure makes him break a cold with a heavy blow that shakes the ground. The sister forces the boy to retreat, dragging his feet through the dirt. The dark-haired boy ironically celebrates that she finally had to use both hands. With an absurd push, she sends the poor guy flying into the air like a rag doll. Grinning his teeth, the MC realizes the woman's strength is something completely out of this world. Sliding across the destroyed ground, he stops himself by activating the purple holy aura again. Watching everything, the platinum-haired sister seems somewhat curious about the golden glow mixed into the boy's demonic energy. Panting from exhaustion, the hero acknowledges that he had to push his own core to the brink just to survive the first exchange. Feeling his hands tremble violently, the kid realizes that the overuse of the holy demonic core has reached its absolute limit. Returning to a combat stance, he questions his sister about a weird rule among the Dasher family candidates. Straight up, he asks why the members don't just go around killing each other right away, since they all want the cores. As calm as ice, the woman explains that the stronger a core becomes, the harder it is to level it up quickly. Basically, the family's twisted tactic is not to hunt the weak ones too early, so their energies can mature. Bluntly, she states that since the youngest defended her deadly attack and even used his energy in an acceptable way, he has proven his worth. With her red eyes shining with ambition, the platinum-haired girl declares that the boy's bizarre core is now ripe for the taking. Annoyed by her arrogance, the MC clicks his tongue and prepares for the worst-case scenario. Immediately, the sister activates the 8th grim form of the dark flame style, ready to finish the job once and for all. As the murderous aura explodes, covering them both, someone yells from a distance, ordering them to stop the fight immediately. In the blink of an eye, a knight in armor steps into the middle of the fire, defending the platinum-haired woman and intercepting the mortal blow with his own sword. Desperate, the intruder shouts that if she advances any further, young Master Noel will be sliced in half. The knight reminds the crazy girl that this conflict is just a contest to steal energy, not a low-level, generalized massacre. Startled at having her attack blocked, the woman stops and observes as the Guardian informs her that Noel's core is only ranked at 2 stars. Tired and panting, our hero stares at the newcomer, wondering who the heck this dude is who decided to save his skin at the last second. Calmly, the brown-haired knight states that he investigating the boy under direct orders from Master Victor. Analyzing the brawl, the instructor explains that if the MC had a 4 or 5-star core, he wouldn't be struggling at his current level. Seeing that the fight is over, the hero deactivates the purple holy aura, taking a deep breath to recover from the ordeal. Agreeing with the knight, the platinum-haired girl sheathes her weapon and admits her reading of the youngest was wrong and that he's still a weakling. Before leaving, she warns her brother not to forget that his core is already in her sights to be stolen soon. Turning her back, she taunts him, saying that as soon as he gets truly strong, they'll fight for real, and she guarantees she'll kill him in the end. Smiling confidently, the dark-haired boy says he can't wait for that day, and that he's also eager to take her power. As the woman disappears over the horizon, the knight's mind keeps hammering on the fact there's something very bizarre about the boy's energy. Based on his analysis, the blocked attack was too strong to have been defended by just a 2-star power. Reaching the obvious conclusion, the knight understands that the hero is definitely hiding an ace up his sleeve. Far away in her room, the sister smiles, sinisterly seeming to enjoy the kid's development. On the mansion's balcony, she murmurs to herself, wishing for the brat to grow up fast to make the hunt more interesting. Meanwhile, in another corner of the castle, their brother Scar is freaking out with rage, breaking everything in sight and cursing everyone and their mother. Sitting on the sofa, surrounded by frightened maids, the fuming redhead can't understand how the failure was authorized to participate in the succession. Seething with envy, he remembers that his father never paid him any mind and didn't even invite the trash to this so-called unable to accept the humiliation. The coward kicks a glass bottle against the wall, screaming that he won't stand for this nonsense. In the middle of his tantrum, a goon quietly approaches with a report on the youngest. Hearing the gossip, the redhead gives a sadistic smile and celebrates that the information fell from the sky like a gift. Full of ill intentions, he swears on all that is holy that he will drag No through the mud and eliminate the MC from the succession. Hours later in the courtyard, the brown-haired knight finally introduces himself properly to our hero. The man says his name is Kyle and that he was personally appointed by Lord Victor as the boy's new instructor. Explaining the situation, the teacher says the old man thought it would be too boring if the youngest died early in the contest, so he sent reinforcements. Stealthily, our MC activates his secret appraisal skill to check out the guy's stats. It's clear that Kyle is a heavy hitter with 7 and 6-star attributes, proving he's a monster in combat. Without wasting time, the MC asks if the training will start with a beatdown or if there's another in GT. Pulling out a sealed envelope, the knight reveals he has an urgent and direct order from the patriarch himself. Reading the letter, the boy discovers that the mission is to investigate and exterminate a sinister miasma pool that has appeared nearby. The system screen glows, warning that miasma is a dangerous phenomenon and that the area will only return to normal if the Lord Monster is defeated. Shrugging, the kid understands that this is the old man's perfect excuse to test him in a real field situation. Laughing inwardly, our hero finds the situation advantageous and decides to use the mission to level up his power away from the prying eyes of the mansion. Arriving in the dark forest, Knight Kyle wastes no time and slices through the smaller monsters with surgical precision. He shouts for the team to keep up the pace and annihilate all the beasts in the area before the miasma pool grows. In the background, the instructor watches as our boy brings his sword down on a bizarre creature, drawing dark blood. Whispering among themselves, some soldiers on the team mock the MC, saying he must be scared to death since he only has 2 stars of power. Ignoring the gossip, Kyle thinks to himself what on earth the patriarch saw in this boy to assign him to a real elimination mission. Suddenly, a soldier shouts, drawing everyone's attention to the center of the clearing. Rushing to the spot, the team finds several unconscious children on the ground, and the mood turns grim. The knight addresses the group, asking what they should do now that civilians are involved. Without a second's hesitation, he decides that returning through the dangerous forest with children in their arms would be suicide and that they need to solve the miasma pool problem first. With the crew adjusting the children on their backs, they advance through the increasingly sinister woods. Looking up at the dark sky, our hero notices that the concentration of evil energy is rising alarmingly fast. Twisted trees and a purple fog swallow the landscape, signaling they've reached the nest. Focused, the MC notes that the center of the miasma pool must be nearby and that the Lord Monster is in the area. Suddenly, a massive shadow tears through the foliage, leaping towards the group. Drawing his sword, Kyle yells that it's a giant scorpia and that the situation has just gotten grim. With a massive thud, the demonic scorpion lands on the ground, and Kyle screams for the soldiers to get the children out of there fast. Tense, the instructor explains that the miasma aura has boosted the monster to rank A and that the creature's carapace is harder than steel. In the blink of an eye, the giant tail armed with a sharp stinger comes down like a meteor towards them. On high alert, the MC yells that the attack is coming and braces for impact. The blow to the ground sends dirt and leaves flying everywhere, forcing the knight to cross his swords to avoid being crushed. Impressed by the beast's brutal strength, the instructor warns that besides being heavy, the monster is ridiculously fast. Seeing the tail aiming again, he panics, thinking our ranked 2 hero is about to be turned into a pin cushion. In a swift move, the poisonous tip shoots towards the boy, cutting through the air. But surprising everyone, the kid activates his mixed demonic core, creating an energy shield with his sword. With a perfect spin, he blocks the impact, dragging his boots through the dirt as sparks fly from the stinger. The force of the defense is so violent that it pushes the stinger upward, giving them a moment to breathe. Shocked, the knight shouts with joy, seeing the attack was repelled, but soon realizes that the Scorpio's real weapon is something else. From the top of its tail, the scorpion fires glowing poison spikes like green missiles. Nowhere to run. The group is cornered under a deadly rain of pure poison. To make matters worse, the giant stinger starts to glow red, indicating the beast is about to charge a destructive beam. Amidst the chaos, without mercy, the monster fires a wicked red laser beam straight from its stinger, trying to vaporize the group. Quick as a flash, the boy channels more hidden holy energy from his purple core to block the blast. In a massive explosion, the hero deflects the beam, cutting the attack in half and sending the energy skyward. Jaws dropped. The soldiers murmur that the kid is an insane prodigy in the art of the sword, even with his theoretically low power. But through the dust, the scorpion's tail swings again, already regenerated from the impact and ready to kill. Like a giant arrow, the monster lunges at the MC, using its full weight to crush the target. Sliding under the blow, the dark-haired boy takes advantage of the opening and slams his glowing blade against the beast's belly. Even putting a lot of force into it, he feels the sword get stuck in the creature's hard bone plates. Spinning in the air, the young man launches a sequence of divine light cuts hidden in the dark aura, causing cracks in the scorpion's armor. He then lands on the ground panting and digs his boot into the earth to keep his balance. Analyzing the cracked shell, he thinks that this darn beast is tough as nails. Sweating, the MC grumbles that it's hard to pierce its defense without using his original light strikes at full capacity. Meanwhile, Instructor Kyle is frozen, trying to understand where the kid got this bizarre sword technique without anyone to teach him. Without delay, the boy yells for the knight to lend a hand in the brawl instead of just standing there gawking. And he snaps to it. Ready for a combined attack, the hero asks if the teacher can create an opening for even a single second, and the guy guarantees he can handle it. Without blinking, the instructor yells in anger and charges forward as the monster recharges its lethal red beam. In a brutal move, Kyle drives his sword into the joint of the cracked carapace, making the beast roar in pain. The blow sends a jet of greenish blood everywhere, breaking the scorpion's energy concentration. Sizing the half-second opening, the hero leaps into the air, covered by the purple and golden aura of his dual core. In a lightning-fast descent, he lands on the tail, cutting off the stinger's tip with a clean strike. A black blood gushes from the wound, and the MC immediately follows up with a kick to the base of the tail to create distance. Before even touching the ground, the dark-haired boy adjusts his stance and prepares the final charge. Filling his blade with pure, mixed energy, he tears through the air like a lightning bolt, cutting the beast in half. The impact of the final attack shatters the forest floor and GT, creating a dusty crater. Crashing heavily to the ground, the giant scorpion gives its last twitches and finally dies. The beast dead, our hero sheathes his sword, sighing in relief that the crazy plan worked. Suddenly, the monster's carcass begins to dissolve into a foul-smelling smoke, revealing something shiny inside. Wasting no time, the boy approaches and rips out the beast's venomous fangs, pocketing them. With a sly grin, he explains to Instructor Kyle that the venom from these fangs can melt hard carapaces and could be very useful later. Utterly dumbfounded, the teacher finally understands why the young man had been hunting the smaller spiders along the way, just to stock up on this acidic material. The group barely has time to breathe before red eyes start blinking in the darkness all around them. A gigantic horde of mutant monsters emerges from the shadows, attracted by the smell of blood and the miasma pool. Immediately, the boy snaps his fingers, activating green magic seals on the ground beneath the team. Using the demonic sword style, he launches a wave of energy to push the creatures back from the front line. Low kicks up dust and delays the horde for a few valuable seconds. Desperate, Instructor Kyle plants his sword in the earth, creating a giant purple protection barrier to shield the unconscious children. As cool as ice, the MC announces that the moment of truth has arrived and they can't retreat. With an insane leap, he dives into the middle of the monsters, cutting down spiders and wolves as if they were paper. In a sequence of absurd speed, he slices a smaller scorpion to pieces, leaving only chunks behind. The force of his slashes creates a shockwave that clears the area around the barrier. Spinning his blade covered in hidden holy light, the hero dodges a bite and decapitates a demonic wolf. In his mind, an image of his platinum-haired sister appears as he tries to recall the details of her ultimate technique. Adapting the family's dark style, he forces his own energy to imitate the dark fire that nearly killed him earlier. On the verge of insanity, he channels everything and shouts the name of the move. A sword dance of light and shadow. In a titanic explosion of golden rays and purple aura, he fires a beam of pure destruction that sweeps through half the forest, disintegrating the monsters in its path. The flash from the impact illuminates the dark night, forcing even Instructor Kyle to shield his eyes from the glare. Chunks of carapace and blood evaporate in the air, leaving the path completely cleared by the energy blast. Sweating, the soldiers look at the damage and murmur, if that's the true strength of a rank 2 brat. Even victorious, our hero sighs in frustration, admitting that recreating his sister's move just by watching was harder than he imagined, and the result was pretty half-baked. Patting the kid on the shoulder, Night Kyle praises the feat and offers to clean up the rest of the smaller monsters. Curious, the teacher asks where the boy is going as he has turned his back and started walking deeper into the forest. Without looking back, the dark-haired boy just replies that he's going to solve a pending personal problem and disappears among the dead walking alone. The MC thinks that in his time, the cause of the miasma pools had not yet been discovered. But he knows the secret and states that it's all the fault of a magical artifact made to suck negative energy from the earth. Arriving in a clearing, he finds a giant twisted tree exhaling a poisonous purple smoke. Using his sword, he slices through the tree's hollow trunk with a single, clean strike. Inside the hole, a sinister ring glows floating by itself, the true culprit behind all the trouble. With a smirk, he confirms his hunch was right and prepares to break the magical trinket. Suddenly, a scream of panic echoes from the direction where the rescue group stayed, putting the boy on high alert. His eyes widening, he grumbles a curse and starts running back, thinking things have gone south in a big way. Running at full speed, our hero cuts through the trees in his path, leaping through the shadows like a ninja. Arriving at the base camp, he sees the terror that has unfolded with wounded soldiers and the still unconscious children exposed on the ground. Desperate, Instructor Kyle yells that something went very wrong and the number of monsters suddenly tripled. Drawing his sword, the MC assesses the situation and sees that a red tide of bloodthirsty eyes is surrounding the entire group. Hundreds of wolves, scorpions, and other monstrosities emerge from the darkness in an endless, unstoppable horde. Facing certain doom, the soldiers panic, and even Kyle seems to be at the limit of his physical strength. To buy time, the boy goes on a rampage, spreading golden and purple rays, slicing through anything that tries to touch the civilians. The teacher doesn't fall behind either, crossing the front line and launching heavy blows against the larger beasts. Shouting for help, one of the soldiers celebrates the young master's return, thinking salvation has arrived. Focused, the dark-haired boy tells Kyle to hold the line while he deals with the horde problem in a creative way. Closing his eyes, the young man feels the strange flow of miasma energy being sucked in by the sleeping children. Analyzing it more closely, he figures out that the cursed ring is using the children as a living filter to purify the demonic energy. In the midst of the carnage, the knight screams the team won't last another 30 seconds of this massacre. Smiling, our hero announces that he's going to hack the magical artifact's flow using his own light core. Plunging his sword into the ground, he projects a giant golden energy circle, cutting the ring's connection to its creator's mind and taking control of the whole thing. With his eyes glowing intensely, he processes the reverse energy, feeling the ring's owner's presence through the magic. Deep in the forest, a masked assassin with red eyes feels the counterattack and is startled at being discovered. Quick on the draw, the MC tells Instructor Kyle to focus only on defending the children and fall back. Meanwhile, the boy disappears in the blink of an eye, slicing through a line of orcs and wolves with ultra-fast strikes and climbing up the trees. And GT. Tracking the magic's origin, he lands heavily on a branch, facing the masked man who is controlling the entire horde. Far from the main commotion, the villain tries to hide in the shadows, but it's too late to escape. Awaiting his glowing sword at the guy, the hero says he knows he's there and tells the coward to show himself. With no choice, the assassin leaps from the branch, throwing poison eyes at the boy. Spinning his sword rapidly, our MC deflects the projectiles in midair, creating blue sparks. Landing on the ground, the villain assesses his opponent, grumbling that the punk is more annoying than the report said. Mockingly, the masked man asks if the rot of the Dasker family has already contaminated the hair for him to notice presences so easily. Calmly, the kid returns the question, wanting to know which scumbag ordered this horror show. Laughing, the enemy replies that it's obvious he won't rat out his boss, so the MC says he'll beat the information out of him. In a brutal clash, the two swords collide, generating an explosion of purple and golden energy that shakes the surrounding trees. Caught off guard by the impact, the assassin's eyes widen, stunned by the strength of that mixed demonic core. Intrigued by his own power, the dark-haired boy analyzes his glowing blade, admitting he still doesn't 100% understand how this crazy fusion works. Noticing the enemy's hesitation, the MC prepares his stance, bending his knees to pounce. Activating the shadow style, he murmurs the second form and concentrates a wicked red aura in his sword. In an instant, dozens of flying blades made of pure scarlet energy appear in the air, aimed at the masked man. Commanding the attack, he launches the storm of red swords at the target in a massive assault. Dodging like a madman, the assassin runs through the trees as the blades explode the ground behind him. Smiling with satisfaction, the boy realizes that the Dasher family shadow technique has adapted perfectly to his core. In a burst of speed, the MC advances along with the floating swords, bringing down a brutal strike towards the villain. Crossing his daggers, the masked man blocks the blow but spits blood from the crushing impact. Not understanding a thing, the enemy checks his own status screen and sees that the hero is listed only as a rank 2 demonic core. Seeing the data, the guy deduces that the kid's sword style is far superior to his energy level. Thinking he's found a weakness, the assassin decides to keep his distance to tire the boy out gradually. Another barrage of red slashes. The dark-haired boy sees the strategy and clicks his tongue impatiently. And GT. Sliding through the mud, the coward flees from the sword's reach and starts laughing under his mask. Far from the target, the hero stops his attack while the villain prepares to return the offense with long-range magic. Mocking the situation, the masked man raises his hand and concentrates a sinister greenish energy in his fingers. At an absurd speed, he fires slashing gusts of wind that look like invisible blades at the boy. Laughing at the kid's face, the villain says that such an obvious attack is too easy to deal with. But the MC's red blades cut through the green wind and GT, disintegrating the magic on the spot. Immediately, the hero vanishes from the assassin's sight and reappears right above him, his sword glowing a golden and purple hue. With a cold smile, the young man whispers the name of his old holy style mixed with the darkness. The aura explodes in a spiral of light and shadow, revealing the new broken technique called Dark Light Glide. Shocked, the villain barely has time to react before taking a sequence of ultra-fast cuts from all sides. Terrified, the masked man screams, recognizing the forbidden move, and asks how the heck the youngest knows how to use it. Trying to escape the sword blender, the guy jumps back covered in blood. Giving him no respite, the dark-haired boy advances, cutting through the air and warning that the villain is too slow to try to escape now. But with a clean and perfect strike, the blade slashes across the assassin's chest, splattering blood on the grass. Falling to his knees, the coward coughs, uncontrollably feeling his life drain away. Facing the defeated man, the MC explains that he learned the principles of the technique just from taking a beating from his crazy sister. In his mind, the scene of the platinum-haired girl using her dark flames flashes, and he explains that by mixing holy energy with the Dasker family's principles, he can create any absurd technique on the fly. Thinking aloud, the hero admits he could probably copy all the glorious family's techniques if he focused on the holy light. But he soon shakes his head, saying that imitation doesn't win wars, and that the true strength of this mixed power only emerges when he creates his own moves from scratch. Walking up to the fallen masked man, he points his sword at the guy's neck and demands to know who ordered the attack. Spitting blood, the assassin lets out a macabre laugh and tells the kid not to get so full of himself just because he won a little scuffle. In a swift move, the coward bites a capsule hidden in his tooth and swallows the bizarre liquid. Eyes widening, the boy realizes the nut job took some junk to power up his body. Beginning to tremble violently, the villain's body emits a sickly green glow and he screams in pain. In a disgusting process, the guy's muscles tear through his clothes, inflating like balloons, and his skin turns gray. His face deforms into a monster's visage, and his eyes turn a glowing red. With a bestial roar that shakes the forest floor, the giant creature beats its chest, revealing itself. Shocked by the transformation, the MC takes a step back and deduces the guy used forbidden beastification magic. Wasting no time, the monster leaps towards the hero with claws the size of machetes. Spinning his sword, the dark-haired boy blocks the first swipe but feels his entire arm tingle from the impact. The beast's strength is so ridiculous that it creates a crater under their feet just from the clash. Sliding back, the MC grits his teeth, realizing the beast's speed and weight have gone to another level, and that his sword will break if he keeps blocking directly. Laughing like a psychopath, the monster roars, telling the boy to show him how much of a beating he can take. In a flurry of blows, the beast advances, tearing through everything in its path and forcing the hero to just retreat and dodge. The creature's red eyes glow in the dark, locked on its target without giving a second of peace. With a claw swipe, the creature launches 3 wind blades that cut through the surrounding trees like butter. Dodging by a hair, the MC defends against the remnant of the wind with his sword and realizes things are getting ugly. Tired of running, the boy tries a counterattack, but the beast is too fast and already throws another heavy swipe. Pushed back, the hero jumps away using the purple aura to gain momentum off the in midair. He takes a glancing blow that sends him spinning out of control. Landing with difficulty, The dark-haired boy plants his blade in the dirt to avoid face planting and lets out a grunt of pain. Holding the sword with both hands, he understands he can't keep dodging forever and needs to create an opening urgently. Closing his eyes for a moment, he concentrates his mixed core and the sword begins to pulse with pure divine and demonic energy. Seeing the hero standing still, the monster leaps into the sky, laughing loudly and asking if the kid has finally given up. Thinking victory is in the bag, the beast descends like a meteor, shouting that it will crush his head right there. Smiling, the MC opens his eyes, revealing a sinister glow and announces that the show ends now. Suddenly, the boy's left hand emits an absurd white flash, blinding the monster in mid-descent. With a deafening boom, the light explodes into a perfect circular shield of magical geometry, defending against the beast's colossal swipe. Rebounded by the impact of its own force, the monster is thrown back into the sky, spinning uncontrollably and roaring in frustration. Holding his sword firmly, the MC mentally celebrates, realizing he managed to recreate the protection seal from his past life using the mixed core. Giving the enemy no slack, the boy bends his knees and leaps towards the monster, which is still trying to regain its balance in the air. Cornered and with nowhere to step, the gigantic creature is at the mercy of the attack. Pointing his blade to the sky, the hero shouts the name of his new holy, demonic sword style, ready to send the beast to heck. An incandescent golden aura covers the young man's weapon, illuminating the dark night as if it were day. With a devastating vertical cut, he invokes the single blade of dual polarity, slicing the monster in half in an explosion of pure light and darkness. The power of the blow is so absurd that it tears through the clouds and cuts the nearby trees to pieces with the force of the impact. Landing smoothly on the ground, the dark-haired boy sighs in relief, confessing that this magic defense saved his skin at the last second. Looking at his left hand, he admires the ring of absolute repulsion, a broken item that nullifies heavy attacks and returns the damage as A and GT. In GT. With the mission completed and the artifact in his pocket, he sheathes his sword and says it's time to rush back to Kyle's group before things get worse over there. Far away, the situation is chaotic with the Knight's team being crushed by the endless horde of orcs and wolves. Panting and covered in scratches, Instructor Kyle holds his sword with trembling hands, admitting he's reached his limit and run out of strength. Seizing the opening, a gigantic orc leaps from behind the soldiers, ready to smash the teacher's head with a stone club. Pushed to the brink, the knight screams a curse, realizing the orc's deadly club is already descending on his head. But before turning into paste, the teacher hears a metallic clang and opens his eyes, not understanding what happened. He sees the monster stone weapon stopped in midair, millimeters from his face, with something holding back the blow. As the dust settles, he sees the entire horde frozen or dropping dead, as if the magic had been unplugged. Panting, the instructor's eyes widen when he hears the hero's voice asking if everyone is okay. Catching his breath, Kyle stammers, confirming he survived by some bizarre miracle. Walking up to the group, the MC calmly announces that he has already solved the problem and eliminated the culprit who was controlling the beasts. Showing the masked man's bloody gloves, the boy says he took down the target, but still doesn't know who ordered the attack. In the middle of the clearing, the children begin to wake up, coughing and crying, easing the team's tension. Looking at the saved children, the hero gives a satisfied smile, feeling that the mission was worth it. Back at the Dasher family mansion, the day dawns peacefully, but our boy's mind is racing. Deeply consumed by guilt, he remembers that innocent children almost perished because of a succession dispute, and that doesn't sit well with him. Focused on finding the scumbag who set up the ambush, the MC recalls an important detail about his sister Eve. Known throughout the family, the girl is the official information broker and surely knows who is behind the masked man. Walking through the garden with long strides, the hero crosses paths with his brother who immediately puts a hand on his sword and tells him to stop right there. Acting tough, the blonde brother warns that not even family is allowed to enter Eve's area without an invitation. Face to face in the courtyard, the tension rises and the MC doesn't seem keen on turning back. In the hero's mind, he confirms that his mysterious sister is the only hope of finding the truth quickly. From everything he's heard from the maids, she definitely knows who ordered the murderous ambush. With no patience for games, the kid activates his mixed demonic core and advances, telling his brother to get out of the way. Laughing, the blonde man draws his daggers and says that as Eve's bodyguard, he can't let a bloodthirsty maniac pass. Tauntingly, he throws it in his face that he doesn't trust the youngest one bit, that they'll have to settle this with a fight. Clenching his fists, our hero understands that the diplomatic route is out the window and prepares his sword. Showing the purple and golden aura, He yells that he'll clear a path by brute force, without mercy. With a sadistic smile, the bodyguard cracks his neck, accepting the challenge, and gets into an attack stance. In the blink of an eye, the two charge forward, tearing up the stone ground, and brutally clashing their weapons. The impact kicks up dust and sparks, creating a shockwave that rattles the castle windows. Pushing against the MC's blade, the blonde man shows he had a lot of physical strength despite using exchanging blows at the speed of light. They slice through the air, creating currents of cutting wind throughout the entire garden. Sliding back, the two create distance, sizing each other up before the next round. Without giving him time to breathe, Seize raises his hand and conjures a red magic circle on the ground. Stone Spear. He summons a gigantic sharp pillar that erupts from the earth right under the MC. Sensing the danger, the boy jumps to the side by a hair, nearly getting his legs impaled by the rock. Somersaulting in the air, the hero prepares an aerial cut, but his brother is already casting another spell. In an insane sequence, the blonde man shoots sharp boulders as if they were guided missiles. Slamming his hand on the ground, Seize activates crushing fangs of rock blade, and dozens of stone swords rise, tearing up the area. Cornered by the earth spikes, our hero wonders if the nut job is mixing earth magic with physical attacks. Tearing through the air, the brother advances quickly through the rocks, ready to slice the kid up. Crossing swords again, sparks fly, and the MC feels the absurd weight of each blow. Using his agility, the hero dodges and counterattacks, creating a deadly dance of cuts that leaves trails of light and earth across the courtyard. Focused on the brawl, the blonde man doesn't let up the pressure and continues to cast spells along with his thrusts. Parrying a flying rock, the MC breaks through his brother's defense with his glowing sword. Analyzing the fight, the boy uses his skill and realizes that getting close carelessly will be fatal, as the guy's style is very unpredictable. Reading the panel, he discovers that C's physical attributes are 5-star, confirming he's no ordinary novice. Connecting the dots, the dark-haired boy understands that the blonde man compensates for his low-level core by using crazy combinations of stone spells with his sword. Determined to end this cat-and-mouse game, our hero announces he'll settle it with the raw power of his own core. Concentrating his energy, he activates the sword dance of light and shadow technique, filling his blade with pure divine aura and darkness. The ground cracks under the pressure of the imminent attack, and a vortex of power explodes in the center of the courtyard. Shocked by the size of the blow, Seize takes a step back, mentally wondering if that monster is really his weak younger brother. Feeling the ground tremble, the blonde man braces for impact, planting his feet on the destroyed stones. Quickly, the brother activates the dark lightning style, and his daggers begin to spark with wicked red energy. In a swift move, he conjures the instant black ray attack and vanishes into the air like a flash. Focused, the MC recognizes the technique, remembering his lessons with Instructor Kyle about the tricks of each family member. In the boy's mind, the teacher explains that the lightning style specializes in attacks that are impossible to dodge through sheer speed alone. Mockingly, the blonde man reappears, running along invisible walls, praising the youngest for knowing the house techniques well. But he soon gives a sadistic smile and warns that knowing the theory and taking a beating in practice are two completely different things. Daring the danger, our hero yells, calling the attack on without retreating an inch. Spinning his red daggers, Seize advances like a deadly lightning bolt, and GT, aiming straight for the kid's neck. The trail of dark energy shatters seen, creating a path of pure destruction. At the last second, the MC clashes his golden sword against the red lightning, causing an explosion that blinds everyone around. With a scream of absurd effort, the hero tries to push back the lightning charge, putting every drop of his mixed core into the block. But the pressure from his brother's blow is too strong, and a shockwave throws the boy back, tearing up the stones with his boots. Final explosion sends debris flying everywhere, raising a giant cloud of smoke in the courtyard. As the dust settles a bit, you can see the remains of statues flying and silence falls over the place. Sliding across the ground, our MC coughs up a bit of blood and feels his muscles burn from the brutal impact. Appending, he holds his trembling sword and realizes he took a glancing cut on his arm, even while defending with everything he had. The blonde man lands smoothly on the other side, but is also panting, showing that the move drained a lot of his energy. Frustrated, the hero clicks his tongue, admitting that the sword dance of light and shadow failed miserably to hold back the force of the direct attack. Analyzing the partial defeat, he concludes that copy and adapted techniques have a clear strength limit against the originals. Thinking quickly, he understands he needs to stop playing imitation and create his own move urgently using the mixed core if he doesn't want to become a pincushion next time. Suddenly, a calm and authoritative voice echoes from nowhere telling them both to stop the nonsense right there. Coming out of the mansion in a dark dress, their sister, Eve, appears with a bored expression, putting an end to the dogfight. Inside the luxurious office, the atmosphere is heavy with everyone sitting on chic sofas. Straight to the point, the girl crosses her legs and asks the reason for that war in the garden. Justifying the brawl, the blonde man explains that the youngest arrived fuming and, as a bodyguard, he had to stop the madman from entering her room. Not buying the excuse, the MC retorts, asking why on earth someone from the Dasher family would need a bodyguard in the first place. Taking a sip of tea, Sister Eve replies with utmost calm that she has no talent for fighting and that her strength lies in her mind. Curious about the feud, the blonde sees asks what the heck the youngest wants with his sister to have come barging in. Even takes the lead, confirming that the boy is there to find out who hired the Assassin's Guild in the forest. Surprised, our hero's eyes widen, and he questions how she already knows about the ambush since he just got back from the mission. With a smug little smile, the girl says there are very few things in this world she doesn't know. Placing her cup on the table, she says she'd love to tell him the secret for free since he's her cute little brother. But in the Dasher family, everything has a price. Understanding the rules of the game, the dark-haired boy agrees and bluntly asks what she wants in exchange for the gossip. Building suspense, the sister asks if the boy has ever heard of a bizarre place called the Infinite Library. She explains it's a giant labyrinth of unknown size, and those who go too deep never wake up again. Because of the absurd knowledge it holds, scholars and adventurers built an entire city around the library's doors to facilitate exploration. Getting straight to the point, Eve tells the hero to enter this cursed hole and bring back a legendary book called the Tome of the Eternal Depths. Eyes widening, the boy recognizes the name, instantly remembering that this is the book that revolutionized magical theory in his past life. He knows the magic from this book saved the lives of thousands of soldiers during the war against the Red Invaders. Thinking fast, the MC concludes that if he can get this book now, 10 years before the end of the world, he can change the entire future of humanity in an incredible way. Without a second thought, our hero's face hardens, and he agrees to fetch the book for her. Shaking the boy's hand, Eve gives a smirk, confirming the dirty deal between them. The next day, a noisy carriage rattles down the cobblestone streets towards the new destination. Sitting with the maid, the MC looks out the window, analyzing the travel information, while the servant seems a bit nauseous. Arriving in the city of Arcanum, the boy sees gigantic towers and a place bustling with life and mercenaries. As soon as he steps out of the carriage, he feels the heavy atmosphere of the adventure city. The maid explains that the labyrinth of the Infinite Library is so complex that anyone who enters without a guide starves to death inside. Walking through the busy alleys, the hero bumps into bounty hunters and strange mages. He heads straight for a darker street, looking for a specific contact in those alleys. Stopping in front of an old building with different architecture, the kid analyzes the facade. Inside, the place looks more like an abandoned shop full of dust and cobwebs. A tired-looking man is at the counter asking what the customers want. Suddenly, the scene cuts to Eva's office where she's still having tea with her brother Scar. With a cynical smile, the redhead says he wants to ask a few things about their youngest brother, No. Showing no reaction, the sister takes another sip of her drink, seemingly anticipating the guy's annoyance. With a sigh, the girl comments that it's very rare for the redhead to visit her in his office. With a cynical look, he lets out a crooked smile and replies that he needs to borrow his sister's strength, and sitting on the sofa, Scar asks where the watchdog sees, is wanting to know why the entrance was clear. Calmly, Eva replies that the patriarch sent the blonde man on an urgent mission, so he had to leave in a hurry. The redhead smile widens, realizing his sister is alone and unprotected at that moment. Maintaining her composure, the girl says she has very competent subordinates looking after the shadows, so she's not defenseless in the slightest. Mockingly, the brother says he expected exactly that kind of bravado from her and directly asks for information on the youngest. Looking at his own hands, the redhead says he wants to know where the heck the punk got so much power to go head-to-head with the platinum-haired Julia right after waking up from the poison. Clenching his fist, he slams the table, demanding to know the secret behind that absurd strength. He also throws it in her face that the youngest defeated the professional assassins he himself had hired. Placing her cup down delicately, Eva replies dryly that unfortunately, she can't help with that piece of gossip. Seriously, she explains that selling information of that level would upset the balance of the War of Succession. She then declares that as an information broker, she must treat all her siblings equally to avoid getting a knife in her back during the night. Ticked off, the redhead stands up asking if she's really refusing to cooperate with him. Fearlessly, the sister faces him and asks if he really thinks he has enough money or influence to make her risk her own neck in such a dangerous game. Laughing like a psychopath, Scar says she'll understand very soon what kind of compensation he has to offer. Immediately, a shadow with glowing red eyes appears behind the girl ready to attack. Meanwhile, in the city of Arcanum, the MC is looking at the giant tower of the Infinite Library on the walking through the streets. He ignores the annoying vendors and stays focused on his goal. Turning the corner of a somewhat, he pushes the heavy door, a small bell rings, and he smells the scent of mold and old magic in the air. Whispering to himself, the boy says he's finally here and feels a strange nostalgia from his past life. From the back of the shop, a guy who looks like a beggar appears saying they're closed and telling the customer to scram. Reading the system panel, the MC confirms the shopkeeper's name is Ozark and quickly says he doesn't want to buy any magical junk, but wants to hire the guy as a guide for the labyrinth. Impatiently, the shopkeeper refuses the job and says he no longer works as a guide to the depths. Questioning the legend, the hero asks if he wasn't the nut job who knew the entire library better than the back of his hand. Annoyed, the guy yells at the kid to stop bothering him and get out. Finding the direct refusal strange, the MC bluntly asks why he stopped working as a guide being the best and slamming his hand on the counter. The shopkeeper shouts that it's a personal problem and a brat can't help with analyzing the man's desperate expression. The boy remains silent, realizing the issue runs deep. Lowering his head, the shopkeeper Ozark apologizes for his outburst and admits he's been on edge lately. Before the MC can reply, the shop's bell rings again, breaking the tense atmosphere. As the door opens, heavy boots hit the floor, and a platinum-haired woman enters the shop with all the swagger. Eyes widening, the hero recognizes his sister Julia, who enters sarcastically asking if the youngest is doing okay. Intrigued, the boy asks if she's stalking him, but the platinum-haired girl says she just saw him in the middle of one of her missions and decided to follow out of curiosity. In shock, the shopkeeper jumps and shouts, asking if that's the famous Julia from the Cursed Dasher family. Pointing at the MC, she confirms it and says the kid next to him is also one of the monsters of the lineage. Hearing this, Ozark's expression changes instantly, and he says he'll accept the guide job if the platinum-haired woman comes along to the labyrinth. Confused, the hero questions the quick change of heart and deduces the guy's personal problem has to do with monsters. Waving them over, the shopkeeper tells them to follow him to the back of the dirty shop. A woman lies in bed, as pale as a corpse. The man explains that a month ago his wife was hit with a curse from a monster in the depths of the library. In his mind, an image of a bizarre creature covered in red energy and darkness flashes. The curse puts the victim into a deep sleep that drains their life until their heart stops beating. Analyzing the woman, the platinum-haired sister confirms that the only way to break it is to kill the monster that cast the plague, and the shopkeeper cries, saying all the mercenaries he hired were massacred in the labyrinth. Without delay, the platinum-haired girl agrees to go down into the labyrinth to save the man's wife, but lays down a condition on the spot. Pointing at our MC, she says the boy will have to participate in the monster hunt with her no matter what. Curious about the youngest power, she confesses her real intention is to see how the kid fights up close. Noticing her attitude, the boy realizes his big sister still doubts his strength a lot. Cool with the challenge, our hero accepts the proposal and tells the shopkeeper to get the gear ready to guide them. Excited by the hope of saving his wife, the man pounds his chest and guarantees he'll show them the way perfectly. Standing before the colossal tower of the Infinite Library, the trio prepares to enter the Antel of Hunters. During the walk, the MC fishes for information and GT, asking what the heck she meant with that talk about a secret back at the shop. Recalling their brawl in the courtyard, the woman explained she felt the bizarre energy blocking her power that wasn't just the demonic core. With a sharp smile, the platinum-haired girl says the labyrinth will be the perfect stage for the kid to show his hidden trick. To break the tense mood, the guide arrives loaded with backpacks, apologizing for the delay. Straight to the point, our MC calls the group, and they start marching towards the tower's entrance. And GT. As they pass through the hall's gates, they walk by a bunch of mercenaries preparing to descend into the depths. With the weight of the backpacks on his shoulders, the guide says his life is now literally in the hands of the sibling duo. From a distance, some hunters gossip, pointing at the guide and saying his team will surely be the next to bite the dust. Focused on their goal, the trio stands before the giant doors of the library ready for what lies on the other side. Placing their hands on the cold stone, and GT, the shopkeeper pushes the heavy door, clearing the passage to the labyrinth. Blue Flash then takes over the place, swallowing the entire team in teleportation magic. Traveling through space, the group is pulled with full force into the absurd structure. Landing on an internal platform, they come face to face with bookshelves the size of buildings disappearing into the horizon. Impressed by the sheer size of the place, the platinum-haired girl admits that without a guide, they would have easily gotten lost and perished in that faced with floating staircases and infinite corridors. It's obvious the place is a deadly puzzle. Looking at the scenery, our hero's eyes widen as he notices a very sinister detail on the walls. Giant paintings depict the ancient war against the invader faction that destroyed his world in the past. Quickly connecting the dots, the boy realizes the library has a direct connection to the apocalyptic monsters. In his mind, the bloody vision of the red giants annihilating humanity without mercy flashes. With a confident smirk, the MC deduces he might find a weakness here to defeat the beasts in the future. Returning to reality, he remembers that the main goal is still to get the Tome of the Eternal Depths for his sister Eve. Descending the colossal corridors, the guide begins to explain the bizarre mechanics of the library's floors. Checking his mental map, the shopkeeper notes that the forbidden book they're looking for should only appear around the 20th floor. Frowning, the hero comments that reaching the 20th floor is a feat almost no one has ever achieved. Walking on the dark tiles, they find a glowing blue magic circle on the floor. Step by step, the team approaches the teleporter that connects the labyrinth's floors. Just as they're about to jump, a group of giant orcs armed with axes appears in front of the circle to block their way. Trembling, the guide says that monsters always respawn in the teleport area and asks if the siblings can handle the brawl. Drawing his sword with utmost calm, RMC says that's no problem at all. In a brutal charge, the boy slices the shield-bearing orc in half with a single strike, spreading the mixed light across the floor. Not falling behind, the platinum-haired girl also draws her blade, tearing through the air towards the beasts. In a matter of seconds, the heavy monsters fall, dismembered without even understanding where the attack came from. Utterly shocked by the duo's violence, the guide swallows hard as the sister tells him to pick up the pace. Now on the 10th floor, the group walks calmly through more circular and dark corridors. Carrying the huge backpack, the shopkeeper leads the way, sweating, but guiding the monsters of the Dasher family. Passing through a stone arch, they reach another transition area of the labyrinth. Right away, they come across another giant magic circle glowing in the middle of the dark room. Standing in front of the light, the team takes a deep breath and prepares to descend even deeper into the hole. Immediately, the magic swallows the trio, throwing them into the heavy depths of the library. A white flash erupts, blinding everyone's vision for a brief moment. Blinking to adjust his sight, the MC is already on alert, feeling the area's atmosphere plummet. Landing in a gigantic room, the guide announces they finally reached the plaza that gives access to the coveted 20th floor. Pointing into the darkness, the shopkeeper's voice trembles as he says the area's guardian monster is right in front of them. Walking slowly, the team approaches the center of the plaza where the darkness seems alive. Suddenly, the seals on the floor begin to flash, reacting to the presence of the awakening threat. Out of nowhere, black thorny roots begin to sprout from the ground, forming a bizarre creature. With glowing red eyes on its massive trunk, a wicked ancient treant reveals itself roaring at the group. In total panic, the guide screams that the last time he was here the beast was just a normal wooden monster, not this mutant abomination. Desperate, the man says that to kill a rank A beast of this level you need a huge team of elite hunters, not just 2 people. Laughing at the guide's meltdown, the platinum-haired girl gives a mocking smirk asking what's this story about needing more people. Drawing her sword with style, the woman declares that she alone is more than enough to turn that devilish tree into firewood. With a violent impulse, the sister charges forward, tearing through the air like a missile straight towards the abomination.